I want people to remember when they look back in history and think of this as the Biden administration getting something big done or Manchin getting something big done, remember what happened 2 days before Manchin and Schumer released the draft of this bill. This was Senator Schumer's office. It was occupied by organizers who were congressional staffers. They went into his office and they dropped a banner encouraging him to keep climate negotiations open. This is how we should remember the Inflation Reduction Act getting done. But history will try to erase every win that organizing gives us and tell you to remember, Manchin getting this pen passed over and Biden making the silly face when he passes the pen. They'll do anything to make you remember that, but remember that everyday people standing up for their rights and demanding what they want to have happen is the only thing that gets people in power to do what's right by the people in this country. Manchin was just kind of the convenient scapegoat for long enough for why the Democrats weren't doing more about climate. This was just like every other week, except Schumer's office was occupied. So did Manchin kill Biden's agenda? Definitely not. Biden wouldn't be handing the pen over to Manchin if that were the case. And so they're packed with a lot of money. They're very powerful, but the one thing they hate is being uncomfortable. And these workers made them uncomfortable. So let's just remember that this is what can happen if you organize your workplace. Imagine what we could accomplish if we had more organizing just like this. This was about 10 workers and they got hundreds of billions of dollars of resources moved to get things done. Everyone who works a job in this country plays some key role to keep our economy moving every day. What if you and the workers in your workplace talked about, what do you want to have happen? How do you want your working conditions to change? But also, what do you want your bosses to be doing with the resources and labor that they move? What you'd be asking for by having more of a say in that decision isn't really unreasonable. You're working 5 days a week for over 8 hours per day. You're spending the majority of your waking hours working. I'm sure you've had good ideas about what could change in your workplace. And we value democracy and freedom so much in this country, but for some reason, we only apply that to government and our politics, and it's about time we apply that to our economic system as well. So as much as you can go home and have really strong political views and ideas about what should happen, you should talk to your coworkers, talk about what can change in the workplace, because this is where real substantive change happens in our country. These don't have to be political conversations. You can talk about the issues in the workplace. What are your bosses doing that they shouldn't be doing? And in this case, their bosses were public officials who are supposed to be serving us, the people. You can start these conversations by just keeping it about working conditions or talking about what you'd like to have change in the workplace. It doesn't have to be political. It doesn't have to be, charged with your own language that you use when you talk about politics. It can just be about work. So all of the power is in our hands, and we should remember this moment, not as Manchin getting past that pen, but as these workers who occupied Schumer's office. This was an organizing win. It wasn't the administration waking up one day and deciding to do one thing. So Jayar, I want to get your thoughts on this. How are you remembering the IRA?
I like your optimism here in Burbank.
Thanks.
That people, because I had one of those moments yesterday that you weren't big on, but this comes to those parents at that school. But when it comes to something like this, okay, look, Joe Manchin handed the pen, and in that particular moment, this is when you always have to remember. And by the way, I do enjoy the whole thought process of organize at your work, talk about things that are happening. But there's this fear, because look, we've seen it happen with Starbucks, and when supervisors get fired, and then many not even really told a real reason for it, and they have to come up with that conclusion that maybe it's the work I was doing to try and organize and get us better conditions. Things like that are happening, and these CEOs and these corporations are okay with those stories coming out, as bad as they may look, because it still sends out that warning shot. And you guys are thinking about this, and any of these other companies and businesses, you might want to think again, because this is the approach that we're taking. And apparently I think they have free reign to do so. So that's the first part about it. They have to get by that fear. We've been conditioned to think, hey, the only way you can get forward in America or have a happy work life and career is to bow down until someone high enough lets you in. And that's a small window and a very small door that rarely opens for anyone else that's not already there. But when it comes to details about what happened with Joe Manchin, it's always political. Yes, they're all thinking about the election. They wanted us to be talking about the Inflation Reduction Act. The next thing that they're signing, when everyone was talking about Donald Trump's FBI search issues, because they still want to make sure, hey guys, don't forget, you gotta vote for us in these midterm elections. And remember, you guys, how much you hated Joe Manchin and how he's derailing Joe Biden's entire agenda, which he was, and in some cases still is. He's got to show me and Joe, we're good. We're good, you guys. Calm down. He's okay. I'm okay. Help us all out here. That's the message they're always trying to send. And they don't want any of those other potential underlying issues that come with this to be talked about. And the casual voter, the casual citizen is only going to see that moment and not dig into this the way that you have.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad.
Yeah. Especially the fear part, right? So many people are thinking, oh, well, my boss said I can't have someone get in between me and them because then I'll get punished. And also my benefits are much better when I work directly with them. The real power of workers is that they're nothing without you. There's no profits, there's no productivity, there's nothing going on without the workers. And so it can be scary. And that's why you've got to organize carefully and make sure that you have a majority of people on board before you decide to take action. But the power really is in your hands. And I bet your bosses are way more afraid of a union and an organized workplace than you are of getting fired. It's got to be a fight, but yeah, Jared, that's a super good point. And it sucks that people will remember this bill as, oh, it's very popular, it's going to reduce inflation, it's doing good stuff for climate, and not really think about the substance of it. Because come midterms, they're going to point to this as one of Joe Biden's big wins and not really even know what it's all about.
And if you're worried about, last thought of this, I'm sorry. If you're worried about the IRS thing and people are concerned because they're coming for you, they've already been coming for you. These all you regular folks. It happens. There was stories about this years ago about how IRS agents and at least the IRS in general, the first folks they come for are not the top because they've got these teams of attorneys that'll make this a whole situation or even finds the loopholes in any of these laws. But the regular guy who makes a mistake or just doesn't do it or then tries maybe something nefarious, oh boy, they got you. And that's where the energy and the money and the attention goes. If the attention does get spread to other folks, great. But the thing is, we just don't know. But they've already got us. It's not like there's nothing going to change for the regular common folk that's not the multimillionaire.
Ridiculous. We had Ted Cruz on Fox saying there's going to be IRS agents swarming the streets, knocking on your door. Uncle Sam's going to come with his, gun and ask you for your taxes? No, that's not what's been going on. There was ProPublica that published that huge report on how it's too expensive for the IRS to actually audit the wealthy, and that's why they're focused on lower earners. So that's why it's super important that we had Janet Yellen and Biden saying this cannot go towards raising taxes or tax enforcement on people earning $400,000. That's a very clear part of this bill. But it's pretty open-ended what's going to happen with the new IRS agents and all of that money. And as someone who studied policy in graduate school, this is a dream for me. I have so many ideas about what to do with all of that manpower in the IRS.
Maybe they can toss some money your way and you can consult them on this.
Yes, yeah, that'd be great.
They got a couple several billion to work with, so maybe they can spare a little.
Yeah, I have some ideas. I'm full of ideas for what to do with all of that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.